if I was 19 and I was on a college campus and they announced that some 50-year-old with a bunch of degrees was coming to speak, I would never go like, not over my dead body. I'd just be like, oh, okay, all right. And then someone would go, well, Adam, he's going to talk about stuff you disagree with. And I'd go, well, he's 50 and has all the degrees, so I guess I'm probably wrong. And then someone would go, does he have the right to speak here? And I'd go, of course, it's not my campus. I'm basically, this is a 4-year motel I'm living at. I don't own the building. Like, who? No, it's not for me to. And then if they went, we're going to go rally and create a human blockade, I'd be like, why? What? Just don't go to the show. Well, I don't get it. And I realized...
Sort of like a sane, functioning person. That's what you're saying. You would have acted like a 19-year-old should behave.
Well, how high does your self-esteem have to be to go, not on my watch?
You link a lot of this stuff that's happening on colleges in the movie. You link it to sort of how we've raised kids now. So you want to kick the millennials while they're down?
I do. I do as I travel through this land. I think this self-esteem movement is really the genesis of this. We started because I started thinking like when I was 19, I didn't have any self-esteem, and my thing was like, I'm not going to tell an adult what to do. Like, I would never dream. If I was walking down the street and I was like 16 and I'd passed a 45-year-old guy and he just went, hey, stop. And I'd went, what? And he'd go, give me 20 push-ups. I would have went like, okay, diamond hands or kind of do a widespread. Like, I would have just done it because he's a dude and he's older than me and he told me to do something. Like, that's how I was wired. So I started thinking like, well, if I were 19 and I was on a college campus, and I was on a construction site, but if I was on a college campus, and by the way, when I was on a construction site, I had a foreman go, he said, go to my truck, get my 4-foot level out of my gun rack. He had like a 4-foot level hanging on his gun rack. And I said, okay. And I started walking the truck and he goes, hey, run. And I started running. Because he told me to run, because he's older than I am. And
you also had a gun rack, so it was probably a wise move by you.
Yeah, where's the gun? Run!
It probably wasn't all levels in there.
Run, serpentine! So I started thinking, if I was 19 and I was on a college campus and they announced that some 50-year-old with a bunch of degrees was coming to speak, I would never go like, not over my dead body. I'd just be like, oh, okay, all right. And then someone would go, well, Adam, he's going to talk about stuff you disagree with. And I'd go, well, he's 50 and has all the degrees, so I guess I'm probably wrong. And then someone would go, does he have the right to speak here? And I'd go, of course, it's not my campus. I'm basically, this is a 4-year motel I'm living at. I don't own the building. Like, who? No, it's not for me to. And then if they went, we're going to go rally and create a human blockade, I'd be like, why? What? Just don't go to the show. Well, I don't get it. And I realized...
Sort of like a sane, functioning person. That's what you're saying. You would have acted like a 19-year-old should behave.
Well, how high does your self-esteem have to be to go, not on my watch? No way is David Rubin or Jordan Rubin or Dave, Ben Shapiro. Sorry,
you're combining all these people.
Combine them into one big...
One horrible transformer.
That's going to be protested. Why would that be my job? Who am I to do that? So if you think about what that takes a life of grooming. That takes a life of don't let anyone tell you what to do. You tell them what to do. Like, you're special, your opinion matters. Don't let anybody, so the self-esteem movement, I believe, is super dangerous. I mean, how are you going to put World War II, get in a Higgins landing craft and go hit Normandy. 19-year-olds with super high self-esteem. You think they're getting in that thing? You think they're going to rush
Probably
a German
not.
pillbox? Hell no. No. So this thing that we thought was good, like, hey, what if everyone just felt really good about themselves? Like, that's good if you earn it. If you just rub it on them, that ain't earning it, and that's going to lead to trouble.
So if we go a little meta on that, do you think that's actually by design? Do you think that is just like, it's sort of just kind of like liberals that wanted everybody to feel good and it's just kind of nice? Or do you think it was actually by design by some bad actors that pushed this stuff out there to weaken all of the things that the movie's about?
I think it can be traced back to a gentleman who's out of Los Angeles who had an idea, which is like, it was, and I'll paraphrase, but it's like some of these inner city kids and some of these low income kids or single parent kids and stuff, they have low self-esteem. Like their dad abandoned them. Like they don't feel good about themselves. And if they felt good about themselves, they would start excelling in school and get out of gangs and not be involved with crime. So how do we get them to feel good about themselves? And it's like, well, we can't get their dad back in the house and we can't give them an A in calculus when they're failing calculus. We're just going to start telling them how good they are and they'll feel good about themselves. And what ended up happening is it turns out like criminals have high self-esteem. Like they didn't
Right.
know it's a unintended circumstance. Like I have a good heart. You know, it's basically all that stuff of like, I have a good heart. Let's build big housing projects and let people live in free in those, and we'll give them food and it's like, yeah, you ruined
sounds
it.
good.
It all sounds good. You have a great heart. You've now ruined a group of people. That's how you ruin people. You tell them, you give them things without earning it. You give them food without earning it. You give them housing without earning it, or you give them self-esteem without earning it. You don't earn it. It doesn't work. It morphs into something bad and then comes back in a weird kind of vitriolic way.
Yeah, this is seen by everybody, I would think, right?
As long as YouTube lets it get to the feed.
And
That's a whole
YouTube,
other
and now, so every person that subscribes, you make money?
No.
You do make money?
If they roll ads on this, we make money. But you may
Do they roll ads on this?
It depends on what we talk about. So you may be deemed too controversial to.
I'm not controversial. I'm on Fuller House. That's on Netflix. It's a very family-oriented show.
Yeah.
What do you need to sell? What product would help you make money on this?
Well, you know, whatever they want to lay in before this. I don't care what they put in before. That's the funny thing. No one associates the ad with the content. You know what I
So
mean?
they just want me not to say anything offensive.
So that the advertiser won't say, okay, Saget talked about whatever.
Like a fabric softener, just
then
one
they
of those
think
sheets, one of
right.
those sheets. That's like a good thing.
I would love to have fabric
And on-
softener. I like fabric softener.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
And I
You
was on-
said to me, what a bounce you have on your jacket. When
yeah,
I
that
walked
was
in.
perfect. Perfect outfit. And we complement each other.
I feel good about this.
I think we're crushing this.
Let's talk about this Full House thing.
Hit it.
Had not heard of it until I did a little research for this.
Right.
Apparently it was a big sitcom at one time.
Yes, it was. It was for 8 years, and I didn't know either. I just knew I had a place to go to work, and that I paid for kids' private school.
Yeah, so I told you this when we had dinner a couple weeks ago, but my sister she's 9 years younger than me. She was so, and I know you hear this all the time, but she was so obsessed with that show that we were never allowed to watch TV at dinner in my family. That was it. We would sit and have a good time or a bad time or argue or laugh or whatever. But my sister at some point took control of the family, and suddenly Full House was being watched during dinner.
Right.
You have to live with that.
She loves Stamos.
Yeah. Everyone loves Stamos.
Yeah, it's true.
Everyone loves Stamos. No, tell me a little bit about getting in on that and how that differed from stand-up, and then suddenly, even though you had studied acting and all that, but just like doing something that was so different.
Completely different. I'd always wanted to be on a sitcom. I'd been around them. As I said, I was a warm-up on Bosom Buddies. I would go visit Robin doing Mork and Mindy. I would sneak into Happy Days. I snuck into the Bob Newhart show.
Wow.
I was underage. You had to be 16 or 17. I snuck into Mary Tyler Moore. I would watch them filming these shows. James L. Brooks. producing Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Unbelievable.
And I saw Bob Newhart last night, had the name drop, wants to know when we can go to dinner. Didn't mention you. That's Don Rickles. That is a direct lift of the kind of thing he would say.
I mean, that's perfection.
Yes.
That really is comedy perfection.
Yeah, he would say something like, somebody very famous, you know, I saw someone last night. I saw Chris Rock last night. Didn't mention you, you know, just to let you know.
Do you think Rickles could make it now, just because of the way we are about
he was making
correctness?
It as a new young comedian? Impossible. But there's a new way to do it, which is a way of love, and some people do it. Mm-hmm. Some people make fun of everyone. My friend Jeff Ross is the Roastmaster General. You know, there are ways to bash people, but it's turned mean. And what happened is, and this is an understatement, you know, the roast, I was roasted on Comedy Central, but I had John Stamos was the roast master. I had all my friends were there. I got to pick who was on it. Most people don't, you know, Justin Bieber roast, no one knows him, you know, most of the people. And people think roasting people is supposed to be mean. And if it doesn't come out of kindness and love of the person, or just blind, I'm going to attack them, but there's no attachment of anger to this, it's just evil. Yeah. It's just wrong. And we are in a society where people they'll hit you back on a tweet, they'll watch something, you'll see people on the news, you'll listen to political leaders talk, you'll hear people bash each other back and forth. And it comes from Don Rickles thinking that that's what he did. Mm-hmm. And that's not what the man did. The man would just, you know, see a man and a woman in the audience and say, "Is this your wife?" And the guy would go, "Yes," and Don would go, "Oh." And that's just, and his age had something to do with it, but also his tenacity. And he started in the lounge at 2 a.m. doing 3 shows till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And talk about the trenches, and all love. So if someone comes out and makes fun of people and does it out of love, or does it out of truth, that's the safest way we're at right now. That's where the Chappelle thing comes through. That's where you look at certain people. I really enjoy Mark Maron a lot, Bill Burr. I mean, there's so many people that are so good that some people don't even know about, that sell out places constantly, that are just like Brian Regan. It's just, he's brilliant. I mean, here's 3 new hours. He's like, what? And it's clean. Yeah. Or you go see Seinfeld do what he does, and you go, that's why he's Jerry Seinfeld. Because it's not just wordsmith. He's connected to everything he did. It might be word for word in some ways another night, but my God, it's fun. Yeah. And, you know, and then I love anybody who is funny, who just is there to entertain people, and it's not only about them, which is hard because we're a very narcissistic group.
Right. I mean, comics are there's a certain breed of craziness, right, that comes with comedy. The best line I ever heard about that was I've mentioned this a few times, George Carlin on The View once, and he's sitting there with all the women around him, and he's talking about, you know, he was selling, or they had just come out with like this anthology, so that's what he was there for. But he said something about how to be a good comic, you have to have a ton of shit. Like, you have to have all this pain and all this angst and all this stuff. But then at some point, you got to conquer it, because otherwise it'll conquer you. And that's why so many comics die of drug overdoses and all this other stuff.
And still are dying young.
Yeah, but if you can own it, then you could be 62. And
well, I'm gonna be doing, I don't know if I'm gonna be doing stand-up at 90, but I'll be doing forms of it.
Yeah.
You know?
You couldn't stop even if you wanted to, right?
I could not stop working. I just directed this movie, Benjamin, which I'll talk about at length in the 3rd hour of our interview. But I
have to leave after hour 2, but you're welcome to.
I'm going to stay. Yeah, we're just going to keep going. It's just going to be me and the camera. But I love working. Without it, I'm an artist, and it sounds so Fruity Pebbles to say that, but I just am, and I always will be, and I'll be making, whether it be directing or writing or performing. I love acting. There's no limit as long as you can stand and walk and bend and remember things, not fall into an open trunk.
Right. The memory one goes first because now there's guys on Broadway that are using
IFBs, earwigs. Yeah.
I was going to say what's the intercontinental?
IBMs. Missiles?
Yeah, not those. That's a different thing.
No, that has been known, and I hopefully will live long enough that at 92 years old, I'll be on Broadway and I'll have an earwig in, and they'll feed me the lines, and I don't care. If I'm good, if it's done right. I saw Peter O'Toole and Amanda Plummer in My Fair Lady, the most miscast version of My Fair Lady on Broadway, and I think he had a thing in his ear. He was no child when he did it, playing. That character is very fascinating because My Fair Lady, which is a play, I don't know if people are familiar, but
sometimes the audience skews a little.
They skew a tiny bit older, but it's not a millennial's favorite. But it's Pygmalion, which of course loses more people. Gen X doesn't even follow Pygmalion.
I know.
But what's amazing about it is he's 40 years older than her. No matter how you play that play, that is a musical with Rex Harrison and Audrey Hepburn. He's 40 years older than her. He is maybe 50, but he's 60 and she's 20, and that's that. And he's trying to make her a classy woman in a chauvinistic, misogynistic, unacceptable way. And it is one of the best musicals ever written.
For people that don't know, that was the original premise that was the original inspiration of Pretty Woman, right? Am I making
that is true.
I'm not making that up, right?
No, you're not.
All right, good.
No, you're not. He's trying to make an honest woman out of an honest hooker.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this Full House thing. So then,
right from honest hooker.
Speaking of honest hookers,
you did it.
I was going to let you drop one of the girls' names, but okay. No. So all right. So then you're on television. Everyone knows who you are.
I never answered your question.
You're making a lot of money.
This is such a good edit point.
Yeah. No, we don't edit.
I got offered the job.
Yeah.
I was fired from a morning program on CBS, which was against Good Morning America and Today Show, for being too hot for morning TV. They had another actor play the character of Danny Tanner. I always feel bad about that.
Really? The pilot was shot with someone else?
The pilot was shot with someone else. Makes me sad, but the same producers and other people in this business have done that before with many, many shows. Robin Williams was not the first Mork. Perfect Strangers was not Mark Lynn Baker. There
was a gay housekeeper in the pilot episode of The Golden Girls. That guy got the boot.
But that's what I played on Full House anyway. So, but I ended up with the part because I was fired and they made it available for me. And Jeff Franklin, the exec producer, wanted me originally for it, and Bob Boyette and Tom Miller, who still produce Fuller House. It's a complicated thing, show business. It is so complicated. All you want to do is entertain a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then all this stuff happens. And I played a character because I wanted to be on 3 Men and a Baby had just come out. We were talking about that before we were rolling on this fantastic Showbiz set.
We saw the Gutenberg at dinner that night.
We did see the Gutenberg, and he brings his Bible.
He didn't have the Bible with him.
And
that went over almost everyone's
head. He had the fish.
I got it.
He had the fish, and he had enough for everyone. And the water, guess what it turned it? So anyway, sorry. So this part was something that I wanted. And 3 Men and a Baby with Steven and Ted Danson and
Tom Selleck.
Had just come out, and so we were that. We were, Dave and John, Dave Coulier and John Stamos were already diapering Ashley and Mary Kate, and I was not in those scenes. So they reshot the pilot, and all of a sudden the show, ABC fought to keep it on. It doesn't happen like that anymore. They put it on twice a week. It ran on Tuesdays, didn't run on Fridays. And then they started to run it twice a week for a while. And then they ordered more episodes, and it wasn't doing very well, but they believed in it. And we were on against Seinfeld, which also wasn't doing very well.
Right, so that's around what, like 89, 90 now?
87, 88.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then 89 is, yes, we're not doing well. And then after 4 years, we started to do well. We switched studios from Sony, because I know people want to get their demographics right on Google Maps, to Warner Brothers to be on the same stage exactly where Fuller House is done now.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And did the last 4 years there. And then it was a really big hit. And of course, with network television, if you look at ratings now, you go, oh my God, how could they cancel it with that share?
Insane.
And then we were offered to go to the CW or the WB. I can't remember what it was first because it's all a blur. We were offered one more year to go there, and we just kind of said, John and I thought we did it. You know, we kind of got canceled, so why do we want to beg to go somewhere else?
Yeah, and they do that sometimes with sitcoms, and it never works, right?
No, you're somewhere else, and then people find it. What they do it for is for syndication. So, what years is that from? Everything looks different.
Right.
Set looks smaller.
Right.
But it was, the secret to that show was that there was actual affection between the cast. And good writing and good moral things where kids could watch it. Your sister could watch it and feel good afterward.
Say hi to my sister, Talia.
Talia, you were great in Rocky. And
That's right.
That's right. Talia Shire.
There you go.
And I just, your brother loves you very, very much and really appreciates that you would make them all watch Full House instead of have nice dinner.
That did make the dinner nicer. All right. Well, let's do just a little bit more on TV, and then I want to talk politics with you and just sort of life, because you're a philosophical guy.
I am a philosophical guy. It gets me in trouble sometimes.
So you do Fuller House.
Yes.
You're a big star. Then you're also doing America's Funniest Home Videos.
Another thing where it's a blooper show, and I'm playing on Sunday nights, 7 to 8 o'clock at night. People were in church that day, so then that night I'm hosting a show that has to be done very palatable for America and the world. It was #1 in China.
Was that hard for you? Because you really had to ham it up, and you really had to, you know.
It was a little difficult, and it was a gift horse. So the tree opens up. You know, it's the #1 show. The producer, Vinda Bona, called me one day on my curly cord car phone and said, "We're #1." And I said, "You mean pee-pee?" Yeah. And he went, "No." He said, we're #1 show on television.
It was huge.
It was a phenomenon.
Huge.
And the joke is, if you wanted to see a man get hit in the nuts, you had to come through me. I was the gatekeeper.
My guest this week for the new, revamped, relaunched, fan-funded Rubin Report is a comedy legend, an activist, an author, an actress, an entrepreneur, and a former presidential candidate, Roseanne.
Plus, mother and grandmother, don't forget the most important part.
I should have done those two first,
you
right?
You should, but, you know, that's how you are. It's okay. I've made the correction.
All right, let's jump right into it.
Bea Arthur there. That's so rad.
There's Bea. You told me once.
I loved her.
That you loved her, but you also told me that you thought that the gay community rallied behind the Golden Girls in a weird way that they didn't quite behind you, even though you were actually doing a lot more pro-gay stuff because you did the first gay kiss, which we'll talk about later and all that stuff. Is that a weird thing? Because it was sort of like the Connors were sort of the reverse of what people think of as gay is over the top and flamboyant, and the Connors were working class. That's not thought of as gay, so to speak.
Some working class people are gay.
There are?
They are. Some of them are gay.
They're not on Bravo, though.
Well, they're right next to Bravo on TLC,
right.
Like the Duck Dynasty. I mean, you know, come on.
Those guys have
There's
to be
a lot
doing.
of gays in that family.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They looked really gay at first. I saw it on the internet, and they were like in these golf shirts and shit, and they were all clean-shaven Republicans.
Right.
Which kind of means gay in a way.
Right.
And then they grew the beards to get the show, and I think they did have the Southern accents. But I watched that show the other day. I think it's I'm transfixed by these reality shows. They're very good.
You had your own reality show.
I had 2 or 3 of them.
So you had Roseanne's Nuts, which I loved.
Yeah,
there were more bleeps. You had more bleeps per minute than in anything I've ever seen.
They would say that I was difficult. But, you know, that's how I talk. They want to see the real me. I mean, if they didn't want to see the real me, I could never figure, well, why don't you go hire, Raquel Welch or somebody like that.
Right.
You don't want to see me.
I saw one episode you were on like a truck and you were like plowing through the macadamia things and you were clearing brush and
getting my aggression out.
Yeah.
And killing, non-indigenous, colonial growth off my pure Pele nest.
So the macadamia stuff, that is indigenous to...
No, it's not. It's from New Zealand.
Really?
The Big Island, Hawaii, where I live, that was the world's laboratory where all those people went and they did experiments in the earth of what would grow, you know. And so those macadamia nuts, they're not indigenous.
Really?
They are from New Zealand, and they were brought over at the very same time when the pineapple, which is not indigenous to the Big Island of Hawaii, was brought there too. So they were manufacturing this perfect cyborg biosphere then, and they have been since the late 1800s on the Big Island of Hawaii.
You're blowing my mind already. You're telling me macadamia.
I was a farmer. What?
But macadamia nuts and pineapples are neither indigenous to Hawaii.
No, not the kind they brought over.
Huh.
They brought the pineapple from other Hawaiian islands, and then they brought the papaya and the mango, and they totally GMO manufactured the papaya. That's why I end up running for president, because I was part of kicking Monsanto's ass off the Big Island of Hawaii, and we did win, and we did kick Monsanto out, and I was so proud of that, because all the time I'd be like, you know, I meditate and stuff, so I'd be like, what would be the best words? I always meditate for the right words, because I'm a comic, and that's what we do. We're always looking for words that fit and whatever. I very seldom brag about myself and my writing and stuff. Or maybe I do it too much. Depends on how many drinks I've had.
Well, you do have 18 cups here. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Water, coffee, and my special tea.
The special tea.
Yeah, for my voice.
Yeah, we'll keep that one quiet.
Remember Jackie Gleason? That was my favorite thing. I knew it as a little girl.
Yeah.
He'd take that drink, and Jack Parr too. They'd act like they were drinking. You knew it was, you just looked for you knew it was booze because they did that bit so many times.
People used to be able to drink on television. Right?
I know.
They would be smoking. I mean, Johnny Carson was smoking cigarettes, and they were drinking and having a good time. And now everything.
They couldn't swear.
They couldn't swear. We can say whatever you want. You want to throw an F-bomb right now just for just an extra one?
No, because that kicks in my OCD.
Oh, so if we throw one in, it could unfurl the whole thing.
It will.
It will unfurl.
So it's like, don't even go there.
Yeah.
It's like that first drink. You know, I go to Alcoholics Anonymous.
I think you just blew the anonymous part.
That is the joke. I should write that down.
You should write that down. Get that down. All right,
where's my pen? I never have pen.
While you're thinking.
Of course, I already forgot my idea.
Isn't that the word?
What do you want to say?
I feel like I'm in therapy because
we're talking about Bea Arthur.
About Bea and the gays.
Great.
Yeah. So, but Bea and the gays.
Was Bea gay?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I saw her sing this song to her husband on Broadway because I went and saw her play.
Oh, I saw the play. Yeah.
Wasn't it a great play?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was all like all her old stories and what it was like to be trapped in that little TV box, which you know all about.
I just like her voice so much.
That
voice. I think that's what'll be missed is that voice.
Yeah.
It was such a genius, once in a lifetime voice. And when she sang, it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was her voice singing. And boy, she was a master of that. Few people are.
What do you think about that idea of that the gays rallied around the Golden Girls in a way that they maybe didn't around Roseanne, but you did? I mean, that kiss, I remember watching that kiss, whatever year that was, maybe 97 or something. And it was literally you did.
Yeah, people were watching it in bars all over America.
Yeah.
We were trying, and there wasn't technology then, but we were trying to hook up phone calls to like a central. But now, of course, it'll all be, I don't know what they do now.
Yeah.
Bounce it off Mars or something.
Something with Mars. I know it's involved with Mars somehow.
Very technological now.
Yeah. So.
Boy, I wish I was working then when it was high tech like that.
Well, you're working right now.
Well, in my own studio. I just got on this kick because I have really bad OCD. But I just wanted to know, what does it feel like to own your own work and just like say what you want to say and be who you really are? It takes a lot of sacrifice, man.
Yeah. I mean, we have been working.
You're paying for it out the ass every day.
I've never worked harder in my life than we've worked in these last couple months as we've put this thing together.
Well, you got to work hard.
Yeah.
You got to pay the cost to be the boss. That ain't no bullshit.
Yeah. You own the sitcom?
No.
You didn't own it?
I own a percentage of it.
Right.
That makes me, I could go I do get depressed over that.
That
I own 20% of my own work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one that put my life on the line. Certainly wasn't any committee involved there. But every joke, there was a committee involved. But at the final hour, I just say what I want in front of the camera and let the audience decide. If I got a bigger laugh than all them writers, then we kept that.
Yeah.
And if they got a bigger laugh than me, we kept that. I mean, I cared about the product.
Yeah.
And aside from all the other names they call me, bitch and all that shit, because, you know, whatever. You know, it's important that an artist control his or her own life and product and everything. I mean, that shit ain't free for somebody just to take.
Isn't it cool that we're cutting out the networks now in a way? Because look, I mean, we own.
I think so.
Yeah, like I own this thing. I don't have to answer to anybody.
You know you're going to work hard, too.
Yeah.
You're not no Democrat.
You link a lot of this stuff that's happening on colleges in the movie. You link it to sort of how we've raised kids now. So you want to kick the millennials while they're down?
I do. I do. As I travel through this land, I think this self-esteem movement is really the genesis of this. Because I started thinking, like, when I was 19, I didn't have any self-esteem, and my thing was like, I'm not going to tell an adult what to do. Like, I would never dream. If I was walking down the street and I was like 16 and I'd passed a 45-year-old guy and he just went, hey, stop. And I'd went, what? And he'd go, give me 20 push-ups. I would have went like, okay, with diamond hands or kind of do a widespread. Like, I would have just done it because he's a dude and he's older than me and he told me to do something. Like, that's how I was wired. So I started thinking, like, well, if I were 19 and I was on a college campus, and I was on a construction site, but if I was on a college campus, and by the way, when I was on a construction site, I had a foreman go, he said, go to my truck, get my 4-foot level out of my gun rack. He had like a 4-foot level hanging on his gun rack. And I said, okay. And I started walking the truck and he goes, hey, run. And I started running. Because he told me to run, because he's older than I am. And
you also had a gun rack, so it was probably a wise move by you.
Yeah, where's the gun? Run!
It probably wasn't all levels in there.
Run, serpentine! So I started thinking, if I was 19 and I was on a college campus and they announced that some 50-year-old with a bunch of degrees was coming to speak, I would never go like, not over my dead body. I'd just be like, oh, okay, all right. And then someone would go, well, Adam, he's going to talk about stuff you disagree with. And I'd go, well, he's 50 and has all the degrees, so I guess I'm probably wrong. And then someone would go, does he have the right to speak here? And I'd go, of course, it's not my campus. I'm basically, this is a 4-year motel I'm living at. I don't own the building. Like, who? No, it's not for me to. And then if they went, we're going to go rally and create a human blockade, I'd be like, why? What? Just don't go to the show. Well, I don't get it. And I realized,
sort of like a sane, functioning person. That's what you're saying. You would have acted like a 19-year-old should behave.
Well, how high does your self-esteem have to be to go, not on my watch? No way is David Rubin or Jordan Rubin or Dave, Ben Shapiro. Sorry,
you're combining all these people.
Combine them into one big,
one horrible transformer.
That's going to be protested. Why would that be my job? Who am I to do that? So if you think about what that takes a life of grooming. That takes a life of don't let anyone tell you what to do. You tell them what to do. Like, you're special. Your opinion matters. Don't let anybody, so the self-esteem movement, I believe, is super dangerous. I mean, how are you going to put World War II, get in a Higgins landing craft and go hit Normandy? 19-year-olds with super high self-esteem? You think they're getting in that thing? You think they're going to rush a German pillbox? Hell no. No. So this thing that we thought was good, like, hey, what if everyone just felt really good about themselves? Like, that's good if you earn it. If you just rub it on them, that ain't earning it, and that's going to lead to trouble.
So if we go a little meta on that, do you think that's actually by design? Do you think that is just like, it's sort of just kind of like liberals that wanted everybody to feel good and it's just kind of nice? Or do you think it was actually by design by some bad actors that pushed this stuff out there to weaken all of the things that the movie's about?
I think it can be traced back to a gentleman who's out of Los Angeles who had an idea, which is like, it was, and I'll paraphrase, but it's like some of these inner city kids and some of these low income kids or single parent kids and stuff, they have low self-esteem. Like their dad abandoned them. Like they don't feel good about themselves. And if they felt good about themselves, they would start excelling in school and get out of gangs and not be involved with crime. So how do we get them to feel good about themselves? And it's like, well, we can't get their dad back in the house and we can't give them an A in calculus when they're failing calculus. We're just going to start telling them how good they are and they'll feel good about themselves. And what ended up happening is it turns out like criminals have high self-esteem. Like they didn't know it's a unintended circumstance. Like I have a good heart. You know, it's basically all that stuff of like, I have a good heart. Let's build big housing projects and let people live in free in those, and we'll give them food and we'll level. It's like, yeah, you ruined it.
Good.
It all sounds good. You have a great heart. You've now ruined a group of people. That's how you ruin people. You tell them, you give them things without earning it. You give them food without earning it. You give them housing without earning it, or you give them self-esteem without earning it. You don't earn it. It doesn't work. It morphs into something bad and then comes back in a weird kind of vitriolic way.
All right, we talked about New York City.
Yeah.
We talked about Afghanistan. Seems like the segue to where we're at right now in California.
Yeah.
What do you make about what's going on with this state? We talked about it about a month ago on your show.
Yeah.
I was strongly considering leaving. Like, I was looking at real estate. I had a whole bunch of people begging me to come to Dallas. I would have had a pretty sweet operation over there.
Yeah.
My feeling right now is I want to stay and fight here.
I love that.
I love SoCal. I love the weather, of course, and all that. But like, I've built a good life here. We've got friends. I like it here. It's a freaking mess.
Yeah.
Absolute mess. I think you're in a bit of a similar situation.
I am, and I didn't think about staying and fighting until I spoke to you, and I haven't stopped thinking about that. And I think you're right. I was just in Austin looking at property, and boy, does that.
No, I know. I told you, we're probably looking at the same houses. I'm on Trulia, like, man, what I could get in Austin compared
the amount of money I can save. It's cheaper to live. It's that, I don't pay that 13% tax or whatever it is, or 18%. So yeah, I could save a lot of money. And what's happening in California, it seems, is businesses are leaving for just that reason, because it's very expensive to do business here. What California has going for it is a very diversified economy and amazing weather. And it's just a huge, important state for a lot of reasons. But California was the state that worked. And we have a Democratic supermajority. And if you look at local politics, it's just anytime you have a supermajority of any group, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, I don't think that's good for democracy. Your vote, if you are someone who leans even a little bit right, doesn't count.
Yep.
Save it, stay home, we don't care. And you aren't getting elected to local office. You're not getting elected to government office. You're not, unless you are pro-big union across the board. Good luck. Good luck otherwise. And I'm a member of a union. I'm in SAG. So I understand the value of unions, but it's expensive to do business. And unless you can push back a little bit or come up with a compromise, I'm not bullish on California. And that ain't me. I've talked to some very smart people who are economic animals, and all of them agree. And all of them are looking to get out because it's too expensive. Why? I live on Skid Row, basically. I'm in Venice. I've been in Venice for 25 years. I love it. But I don't recognize my town anymore as much. And,
it's gotten really bad over there, right?
It's not just gotten very bad, it's become profitable because developers now can get these government contracts. I mean, I can build you a bunch of apartments for $200 million on prime real estate, on a parking lot, on the beach if you'd like. I'd be happy to do that, and we can create a homeless apartments for people who are homeless, and don't worry about doing drugs or anything else. We're not going to put any of those restrictions on you. You can come and go as you like. So there is something that this is not me, but a scholar I had a long conversation with called the homeless industrial complex. Mm-hmm. Once there's money in bidding and getting homeless shelters for big developers, you better be careful. So these people need to be put in treatment. The majority of the people on the street is not a housing problem. Mm-hmm. It's not a housing problem. It's not a housing problem. It is a mental health and addiction problem. And until we get serious about that, we're going to be in big trouble.
Is it weird to you watching it spread in different areas? So Venice always had a certain amount of that. Now it's definitely more. But like Hollywood, which also always had a certain amount, it's like kind of taken over Hollywood. If you just go to straight up, especially now where there aren't as many other people on the streets.
Yeah.
Now it just seems like all there are, kind of like transient people and homeless and tents and...
Well, you
and as that inches closer to West Hollywood, now it'll inch closer to Beverly Hills, and that then is when it gets pushed. The other way, right?
They have their own police force, but Prop 47, and you can't. It's not criminalized. They're all these. I voted for Prop 47 because the way it was phrased, and it had the again on the ballot. As I'm voting, I went, well, this makes sense. I don't want kids to be in a revolving door of crime, and police chiefs back it. And
Callen, did you read the whole thing?
I didn't.
That's it.
I didn't have time. I'm remiss.
But that's how they get you in this state, I think, more than any other. During the last election, there was this one thing on the ballot about, do you want to, it was something like this, do you want to put $500 million into education for, blah, 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 blah. And then there's essay, just a giant crazy essay on the whole thing, and I skipped all the way to the bottom, and on the bottom it says this can only be repealed or reversed by popular vote. But nobody ever says, okay, now we'll take the money from the kids. Yeah. But that's government 101.
That's right.
We sell it, exactly, the packaging thing you're talking about.
It'll never go away.
Nobody reads the fine print, and then you throw it back on the people to be like, oh, you'll have to take care of this.
Deal with this. There's always blowback. There's always a ripple effect. You bet that no matter what the intentions are. We've spent something like $3 trillion on programs for the poor. How's that going? How's it going? It's very difficult. I think at the end of the day, it's not about right or left. You got to ask yourself, do you really think that a bloated bureaucracy called the federal government is the first line of defense? Is that the best way to solve these problems? Is it? I don't think so. Is government going to keep families intact? Is a government official or a bureaucrat who studies family law or whatever going to keep your family intact? Are they gonna get you to take care of your kids? Are they gonna get you the skill set you need in the 21st century, the ever-changing 21st century? It's a question.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is yes in some cases, but I don't know if that's always the answer. And you got to ask those questions. The problem we run into is we go, well, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm left, I'm right. No, hold on. Let's go into what percentage of your money do you want to give the government every year? Every day. I pay something like 52% in taxes. So half my day, half my year is working for someone else. Half my day, half my year is working for someone else. So how much more do you want from me?
Joining me today is a stand-up comic and host of Dennis Miller Plus One on the RT Network, as well as the Dennis Miller Option Podcast. Dennis Miller, I've already said your name 3 times.
What's up, Rubes?
Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Beautiful pad here, man. I'm trying to read. You can tell a man by his books and
How am I doing?
His tchotchkes. I see that you were a Carlin fan, which I find
Of
endearing.
course.
Little Steven Pinker, NBA. I think your detractors would say this indicates you're moving rightward towards John Birch participation on the bottom. Where do you have the map centered up? And that odd confluence between South America and, or the globe, I should say, South America and Africa, where it's split up. And now I have a theory. It looks like they were together at one point.
Yes.
They've split apart, and obviously the west coast of Africa with Ivory Coast, Liberia is the most contentious place on the planet, and I think that's a sudden hard drive tremble from way back when, where a guy went out into his yard in Liberia once and said, honey, what's this crack? and then 2 weeks later
Next
it was
thing-
another con.
I've oft wondered how Pangea split. Now I have a little.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm giving you a little something of everything here because we got lefties, we got righties. Look, I got an American flag in the control
And I
room
love the
over
map.
there.
I always love to have a map in my studio to feel situated.
Yeah. So you got 2 shows. You've done a bajillion things. I
Yeah.
said to you right before, I'm not even going to use notes. I try not to really look at my notes when I talk to most guests. Anyway, I thought I'd just sit down and see what happens. You kind of just need to be wound up and then you go, right?
Well, you know what? But I tell you, as I get older, I need to be wound up and let go less. I just, listen, it's contentious now. I was more of a, I don't want to use it's a tired term, firebrand, but I was more willing to engage lock antlers when I was young. I don't think people are going to change their minds anymore. I don't want to be the carnival barker on some freak show. We're split. We'll find out where we go, which way at each election. In between, it's going to be contentious. At age 66, I don't want to wake up every day and fight with people about stuff they're not going to change their mind on anyway. So when I get going, I like to put on a good show. You know, you're Spanky and our gang, let's put on a show, but I don't need to get going as much anymore.
So you're like an evolved political satirist or something.
I just, I used to dig the game when you could budge somebody, an angster. I didn't need them to come over. I never thought that you're going to talk to somebody and they were going to desert their core beliefs and come over your way. But they, at least you could see them mulling. I think mulling's gone. I could see hm's gone. It's just now everybody's dug in. And,
I'm trying, man. I'm trying over here.
No, I appreciate it, but like I said, I don't know. You're in your 40s, right? I would have probably fought the fight more then. But I'm telling you what, you seem like just the time we talked beforehand, you seem like a smart enough cat that somewhere down the road, I can't see you fighting it into the barn. Seem to be in love. You got a beautiful family in the picture out here. Got a great place. You're kicking ass and taking names career-wise. Yeah, you should do it now. But at some point, the harvest is. What are you going to do? I'm into getting up and reading, taking a hike, having a good meal, appreciating the fact I married the most beautiful, witty, charming girl I ever met, adoring my sons, watching some baseball, and then reading as I fall out to sleep.
Is that a tough thing, though, for a comic to have to face? No?
Not for me.
But do you think for most comics that's like you almost fear that? You fear the okayness because you won't have the fuel?
It's a comedian. It's a job. Yeah, I was never very... I don't view show business as some sword from the stone moment where you're anointed. It's a job. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and my job, what I was good at was I would think jokes up, and then I tried to give those jokes to somebody else to do, and then I found I didn't have the ego for that. Once I saw somebody do a joke, I thought, up on the Tonight Show and Carson laughing, I thought, oh, I'm not built for this. I better become the unlikely conduit. But I've never thought of myself as the Silver Surfer comedian.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. I don't have any moment pangs where I think, "Oh, I wish I was in the fray." It never was like that when I was in the fray.
Were you always political? Because I
No,
think
once you get that job on SNL, you have to become political.
Yeah. So you weren't political before that.
I used to be a prop comic. I remember working with I was never quite Karatopian, but I
Is that an actual word? I think that's probably in the dictionary now. That's depressing.
I did props when I first started because I thought that visually that way. But then I remember I couldn't fit the props in the overhead. I had slight props, and then I thought, I'm not going to wait a half an hour at a revolving carousel
for some
for
inflatable
a toilet seat I could put on my head and say, "Alas, poor turdic." So I ditched out on that. Started writing jokes. Like I said, told a couple of other comedians, saw them do them and score with them, and thought, I've got to be the guy. So. Like I said, it's very. I didn't have a whoosh thing about stand-up. I remember thinking, okay, this is a good career. It was kind of a decision.
So when you get the Weekend Update situation, the SNL situation, then it's sort of like it was political. What year did you start at SNL?
Somewhere in the 80s.
Somewhere in the.
That's what I mean, though. I'm not doing that deliberately.
Yeah.
I just. I remember I was
maybe like 89 or something. Because I'm trying to remember. Because you on SNL that class was like my formative comedy year class.
Yeah.
So I was like 12, 13 around then. And I think maybe like 89 or something like that.
Well, some
Was it
people
even
choose to
before
think
that?
of themselves as comedic visionaries. I choose to think of ourselves as ushering kids through puberty. We were the, if you were 12 or 13,
Yeah.
that's all we were. There was 15 minutes off from jerking off.
But you guys did it. See, I made it out okay.
But I remember I was in Baltimore, and I had auditioned for SNL maybe a month before. And then I remember they picked the cast. USA Today had a picture of them. I wasn't in it. I was still in Baltimore. And I was so tough at that point, because on your way up, you have to be tough. You did stand up in New York 12 years. I was a gladiator. And I remember seeing that picture. I didn't have a crestfallen thing. I thought, I think I came close to that. All right, keep going. Then I was up doing Letterman, and somebody came into the Letterman dressing room and said, listen, Lorne Michaels wants to see you on 17, where his office was. And I said, geez, I knew something was, he's not calling me down to revisit me to tell me why he didn't give it to me.
You're really not getting it.
But I'm thinking maybe I get a shot on it as a comedian or something, like Stephen Wright would come on Sam once in a while. So I went down. I knew it was going to be something good, but then I walked in. I remember it's one of those moments that stick in your head. Lorne sits at the end of the thing. He's got one of those green domed glasses, lights on his desk, you know, that gives it that Arthur Conan Doyle feel. He's got the quarter glasses on, reading scripts or something, and over his shoulders the Empire State Building, and I remember it being like red, white, and blue. And it wasn't 4th of July or anything, but he looks up and he goes, hey, Dennis Miller. I go, hey, Lorne. He says, how would you like to do Weekend Update? And I said, I'd like that a lot. And he said, I'll see you tomorrow at around 11. I said, all right, sir. I walked out, and I remember thinking, I'm not a big drinker, but I remember thinking, I'm going to go get 4 fingers of something brown on the rocks and knock this down, because this is pivotal. And that was magical. I don't want to act like I'm sitting over here like Rasputin. I'm talking about stand-up. I was kind of step-by-step, Maginot Line, move it 6 inches, fall back 4, move it 4. But when that happened, I remember thinking, all right, take some mental Polaroids here. Don't be blasé about this, because that's its own defense mechanism. This is a big deal. Chevy Chase did this. You're going to do it now. Enjoy it until you either become a success or get whacked. So I did enjoy it along the way. I took all those moments, and you know, the first time you sit in that seat and they're counting you down, I just thought, all right, I might go out, but I'm going out on my shield here.
So even though you weren't purely political, they pegged you for that. Were you? Is that what you wanted? Did you want to do more?
I wanted any hook. I didn't. You know, I'm not a character guy. I used to try to stay out of the SNL sketches. Because, you know, when you're with geniuses, Carvey's a comedic genius, Lovett's, the sketch-wise a genius, Phil, the ultimate glue guy. I mean, the only guy, I never thought I'd see a guy like Danny, and Phil got in the realm with him, and I always thought, well, this is a serious play. Mike Myers comes in. So you got 4 leads there who can kill the ball. I'm the 5th guy in a sketch. I'm the bartender saying, here's your gimlet, and yet I got to be there blocking it for 3.5 hours. So I used to go around and say to writers when they wrote me in, I'd say, don't put me in. I want to be like the DH. I want to pick a rock song, swing the weighted bat down the tunnel, come out and, you know, hit the ball for 10 minutes.
And by the end, you had that, right?
Yeah, it was a groovy job. And I'd probably been in around a dozen sketches over the years, and they were ones where I thought, oh, this is good. I should stay in this because I want to see this when I get older. It's a Wonderful Life, the next chapter. You know, you knew when something was going to be a big hit.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about comedy instead of the nonstop yelling you get everywhere else, check out our comedy playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out our full episode playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.